Sunderland are promoted to the Premier League, and I absolutely can't believe it. What an achievement for Regis Breen. What an achievement for that young Sunderland squad. So much talent in that squad and so much potential, and now they're going to show it in the Premier League next season. Commiserating to Sheffield United, who, to be honest, absolutely bottled that game. They were in absolute control of that game for 75 minutes. Gustavo Hamer goes off, the game absolutely changes, and Sunderland end up getting the win with a last-minute winner. Absolute scenes, and fair play to Sunderland, and I'm looking forward to seeing how they got in the Premier League. So we're going to be discussing in this video what I think Sunderland need to be doing in the Premier League next season, the transfer they need to be making, the strength of the squad, and what needs to be improved. And overall, my overall thoughts going into Sunderland, going into next season. How many points will they be getting next season? People are already talking about potential record breakers in terms of how low points they might go. Now, there's no doubt in the playoffs, they absolutely rode their luck. Against Coventry in the second leg, Coventry were by far the better team, but all they did was pump the ball into the box. Dan Ballard was heading them out left, right and centre. Absolute easy pickings for him. Then we go into the playoff final where for 75 minutes, as I say, Sheffield United were in absolute control of that game. Sunderland were really struggling. They looked like they were a bunch of players that had won a lottery ticket to play the game for the first half of that game. They were absolutely pathetic. But it doesn't matter. They've come of age and they've come and turned up in the last 15 minutes and in the last minute when it absolutely mattered the most. If you're a Sunderland fan, please do subscribe to this channel. We're going to be doing daily Championship/Premier League content. So if you're a Sunderland fan, hit subscribe on this channel. If you're a Championship fan, please hit subscribe on the channel. If you're a Premier League fan, hit subscribe on the channel. We're going to be doing daily videos on this page. And we're trying to get to 1,000 subscribers. So if you wouldn't mind helping me out, it would be very, very greatly appreciated. As I say, it only takes 1 second to subscribe to the channel, so it'd be very greatly appreciated. So just looking at this here, Gus Hamer, as you can see, substituted after 72 minutes. That was where things all went wrong for Sheffield United. You kind of sensed it. I sensed it watching. Sheffield United fans would know how they all know how influential and how important Gus Hamer is. Everything goes through him. The second he gets substituted was the second the game changed. Now, one interesting thing with this Sunderland starting 11 is, in fact, that none of these players have actually started a Premier League game in their career, in the whole starting 11. Chris Metham came on in the 8th minute. He's played some games in the Prem. But other than that, in that starting 11, 0 Premier League appearance, which is ridiculous. You compare it to Sheffield United's side and you look at the Premier League experience they've got. You look, three of their back 5 then, including the keeper, have Premier League experience. Gus Hamer does, Sousa does. I don't know if Peck played or not, but Brewster has. Tyrese Campbell, maybe back in the day for Stoke. I don't think so, though. And Keeper Moore has got Premier League experience as well. So much more Premier League experience in that Sheffield United side. So you look at it with Sunderland, as far as investments need to go, obviously the winner, the match winner, Tommy Watson, who scored the last-minute winner, he's going to be on his way to Brighton, already confirmed. They're going to need some Premier League experience in this team. Now, there is a list of Premier League players that are all getting released from their current clubs that could potentially be good signings that can also, as I say, drop down a little bit in the Premier League and potentially sign for a Sunderland and get there's a much needed experience which they're definitely going to need in the Premier League. So you need players that are going to know the division. This Sunderland team, you saw in the playoff final, they ended up getting the win, of course, but for me, the way they started the game, it looked like the occasion at the start of the game especially was getting the better of them. They're going to need players that are going to be leaders in the dressing room that are going to be able to actually have a Premier League experience that can really help these young players out, because as we know, the average age of the Sunderland squad is crazy. Like, you look at the potential you've got in this side. You've got, even your defence is young, Trey Hume, Sirkin, two very good and very promising fullbacks. I thought Sirkin had a poor game, to be fair, at left back. Then you go on to the wingers, you had Remain Mundo on the left, such a promising player. Didn't really see the best of him in that game, unfortunately, but he's such an incredible attacking talent. Chris Rigg as well, obviously we know, what is he now, like 18 years old or whatever he is, 17 maybe. Such a good young talent, so many people talking about him. Even Dan Neal's been playing for numerous years, but he's still considered a young player. What was he, at 23, 24? Joe Bellingham, he was okay, I thought, in the final. He's done decent enough. He hasn't set the world alight in terms of his ability on the ball. He hasn't showed what he's actually capable of in these players, and a lot of people have given him stick for that. But he's a player that's got huge potential, and his work off the ball doesn't get talked about anywhere near enough as it should. Again, he was very good out of possession in that game, I felt, against Sheffield United. And he's going to need to be very good out of possession in the Premier League, because realistically, how much of the ball is Sunderland going to be having? Not a lot. And to be fair, the way that Sunderland have played these playoffs, they're better when they don't have the ball. Sunderland are a better side when they're not in possession of the ball. We've seen this over the course of the season. They're better sitting in a low block, hitting teams on the counter-attack. You've got the pace on the counter-attack of Mayenda up front, who's an absolutely outstanding talent, so good in front of goal and very intelligent player as well. And he's a player that's got serious potential, in my opinion, that can at least chip in with a few goals, in my opinion, in the Premier League. He's really stepped up in this playoff campaign. You saw the finish in the playoff final today. Absolutely outstanding from him. As I say, had a quiet game, wasn't at his best in the slightest, but it doesn't matter when you turn up and produce a finish like that. Absolutely emphatic, incredible finish from him. Enzo Lafay, I think he'll be signing for Sunderland as well, which is so important. He's a player that's got so much quality in possession. Again, we didn't really see it in the player final. We didn't see enough of it anyway in the match, but we've seen, especially when he first signed for Sunderland, this guy's got so much ability on the ball. He's got pedigree as well across other leagues in Europe, played at the top level. So for me, Enzo Lafay will be a great step. It's a great sign and a great step for Sunderland in their Premier League season next season. And they've also got Wilson Isidore as well. They've got pace. That's the one thing with Sunderland. They've got pace on the counter-attack. Now, there's no doubt they're going to need to bring in another forward. They're going to need to basically bring in a player in the majority of positions, let's be real. They're going to need to spend a lot of money, and I imagine they will spend a lot of money. Sunderland's investment, the reason why they're in this position right now is because of the investments they made, the smart investments they made over the years, and they've brought players in that they can sell on for a profit in the future. If they didn't get promoted this season, if they do get promoted, which they have now got promoted, we know Sunderland have got very sellable assets, which will only stand them in good stead going forward. And this promotion to the Premier League, they might get relegated straight away. They're probably not going to stay up. The Premier League's so competitive. We'll look at the Premier League teams in a second. We know the Premier League's so competitive, but Sunderland have got a chance now to gain much needed experience in the Premier League for these players. If some of them players do well, they've got potential to then sell them on for big profits, which is only going to set up Sunderland incredibly well in the future going forward. And as I say, you look at the players that they've got, so many players they can sell for a lot of money, and I absolutely back Sunderland to reinvest that money, and even in the Premier League, make some smart signings which are only going to benefit the club in the long run. They've done this for a few years now, and this has been compiling over time. And if they didn't get promoted this season, I think Sunderland would have been right in the automatic promotion picture. I said this in my video yesterday. I think Sunderland, even if they didn't get promoted, would be right up there next season because they have the building blocks and they have the foundations there that are going to make them a Premier League club in the future, in my personal opinion. Now, I want to speak on Regis Labrie as well because C came in. Sunderland they had an awful season. They had Michael Beale take over. They had Mike Dodds. They had an absolute disaster season, really. Sunderland did last season. Not everything went wrong because they still sat in mid-table, but they were very poor and they weren't good enough last season. We saw the potential that they had, and they've appointed a manager in Regis Labrie who, at the start, was really getting things right. Sunderland were right at the top of the division and playing some outstanding football as well. As the season's gone on, it has got worse and worse, really, for Sunderland. You look at the way they finished the season, lost 5 or 6 games in a row at the end of the season. Were absolutely terrible in terms of their pressing. Their pressing was so good at the start of the season that absolutely fell off a cliff. They looked nowhere near as threatening in front of goal. They looked very predictable to play against and easy to play against. And they've managed to dig deep in the playoffs. They've managed to grind it out. And this is an opportunity now for Regis Labrie to invest into that squad, get even more players in that he wants to get in as well. Buy more players that got big potential and a big opportunity for him. I mean, he's basically got a free pass in the Premier League. Let's be real. If Sunderland finish bottom, everyone's expecting it. You know that you look at them compared to Burnley and Leeds, they're far off Burnley and Leeds. Burnley and Leeds who obviously got automatic promotion, are in a completely different league to Sunderland, in my opinion. Sunderland have great potential, but in terms of ability of those two teams, Leeds and Burnley are absolutely astronomically clear. So this is why I think Sunderland are up against it in the Premier League. And we'll just look at the Premier League just going into next season, and obviously we know them teams get relegated. And you look from 17th, you got Spurs on 38 points, and those are the European champions, though, the Europa League winners. You're up against there. That is the team that is one place above relegation. That is the kind of level we're talking at, these teams being that are outside of the relegation zone. None of these teams are bad teams in the slightest. I know Spurs and United like to be laughed at, but they're bad for their standards this season. But obviously, in the grand scheme of things, you look at their players, like that Spurs team's ridiculous. They got some serious. I mean, they didn't win the Europa League for no reason, but they got serious talent in that team. That starting 11, they've had a lot of injuries this season. But who's going to drop in? Like, who realistically in that Premier League season next season is going to drop off so astronomically to then make a team like Sunderland come out? I just don't see it happening. I think Leeds maybe have the best chance out of the three, in my opinion. But Sunderland, it's about getting much needed experience, trying to perform as well as you can, try and grind out results. They've obviously got the time where derby with Newcastle, which is going to be absolutely outstanding to watch. An amazing game, one of the best derbies in the whole of England. So it's going to be so exciting to see those two teams go at it again. But as I say, the chance in them staying up with the teams you've got in the division, you've maybe got Everton can maybe drop down because they don't score a lot of goals. West Ham, but West Ham have got Jarrod Bowen. They're not getting relegated with Jarrod Bowen, Mohamed Kudus. I don't know what's going to go on with Paquetá, but they've got some unbelievable talent which can play at teams higher up in the Premier League, in my opinion. There's quite a few players for West Ham. Wolves might lose Cunha, of course. It looks like he's going to be going to United, maybe. I don't know what's going to happen. I think they got Strand Larson on loan. If he leaves, then maybe Wolves could drop in. But the chance in all that happening, I think, is so unlikely. These teams are at such high quality level. The thing in the Premier League is, since the season where, what was it, Nottingham Forest, Bournemouth and Fulham, they all stayed up. They've all progressed, and they've all got teams now which are incredibly well drilled and got outstanding and incredible individual talent as well. So, for them to fall off a cliff and absolutely drop into the relegation zone, I just don't see where it's going to happen. The Premier is getting harder and harder for these newly promoted Championship teams, and Sunderland being a team that, let's be honest, in the back end of the second half of the season weren't good enough. And in the playoffs, yes, they got through, but they definitely rode their luck. What chance do they have? Realistically, what chance do they have? I think for Sunderland, the number one target initially is to not break Derby's record. You know, get to that 11-point mark, genuinely. I'm not even just trying to say that to be insulting. I just think it's going to be so difficult for them next season. But congratulations to them on the promotion. Over the 46 games, the majority of the season, they were very good. And over the playoff campaign, they rode their luck, yes, but you can't say they don't deserve it at the end of the day. Sheffield United bottled it. Sunderland stepped up when they needed to. So fair play to Sunderland. I'm really looking forward to seeing how they go ahead and get on in the Premier League next season and what kind of signings they make. They're going to need to strengthen a lot. They're going to need Premier League experience. They're going to need to sign. They're going to need to spend some money, basically, and a lot of money as well if they want to be competitive in this Premier League in the slightest. Anyway, if you enjoyed the video, drop a like down below. If you're a Sunderland fan, please do subscribe to the channel. If you're a fan of the Championship, hit subscribe. And if you're a fan of the Premier League, hit subscribe. As I said, we're trying to get to 1,000. If you wouldn't mind helping me out, please do hit that subscribe button. It would be very greatly appreciated. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next one.